Okay. Like I, but none of them listen to this. It was yeah.
But there was one day no,
let me tell you, they already do that.
Okay, I was about to say I'd probably be that child. I was probably that child. If you leave me alone, I still am child. I'm still like everything technical. I still get it. If you get, they'll be like, Nomathemba, I'm like, please throw that thing away.
Yeah, but why would you change? Why would you change? It's always nicer without change. You know, they always say boys will always be boys.
But I'm not a boy. That's my problem. I think I'm a contradiction. I've always been a contradiction for everybody in my family.
What does it mean, though?
It means you can't place me in a certain box because you'll say boys will be boys. These are boys' things.
Yes.
And then you'd find me, I'd master them and do them better than the boys.
Is part of running part of that?
I'm competitive.
Okay.
And it's in my personality, it's in my being.
Yes.
I like winning.
Okay.
As a person.
Growing up, you've always wanted to win.
I don't. And it's not about competing against anybody. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to excel at it.
Yes.
Not because I'm trying to be better than someone else, but I'm trying to make sure that I do it to the max and I master it.
It's just so study, isn't it?
Yeah, we live.
Yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make it happen with Kiss.
Good.
Yeah.
So let me introduce you. Hi. Hello. Hi. It's Fizo Kiss here. I'm chilling with Nomathemba. Malinga Chatting. So welcome to Make It Happen with Kiss.
Thank you.
The reason why Nomathemba is here, I admire Nomathemba for a few reasons. Nomathemba is, apart from being Uchiwa Sedokshin, started in Mondia, 1996, class of 2002, correct?
Ooh, how do you know this about me? Someone's been reading.
No, say research.
Okay.
Finished school in 2002.
Yeah.
Now I know you from the business world, where you are a reputation and communications strategist.
Yeah.
Kind of the fixer.
Bashonjan.
What is that? So maybe before we get into that,
yes.
maybe just for the people at home, the viewers, maybe let's get into. We see you in a boardroom.
Yeah. We
see you in your car.
Okay.
We see you in a marathon, and we'll touch on that just a little bit. You look like something that these girls want to be, which is why you're sitting here today, right? Because remember, we make it happen here. So we want to talk about how you made it happen. You come from the class of 2002. There's interesting things about your life that I kind of would like you to get me into.
Okay.
While you are giving me the path of how you got to here.
All right.
And when you do, I want you to give me not just the glamorous stuff. I want you to tell me, what did you do? When you had no motivation, what did you do?
I don't know which part is glamorous.
Is there no part that is glamorous?
Let me be honest. There's the nice part.
Please go closer to her. Just put it closer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe let me contextualize and say, I was watching a podcast by Venus Williams, and she was being interviewed in a panel discussion.
Yes.
And she said that discipline gives you freedom.
Yeah.
It gives you the refinement. It gives you the glamour.
Yes.
But the essence of it is discipline.
Okay.
So when I say the glamorous, it's difficult for me to mention glamour, freedom without underpinning it with discipline.
Okay. All right.
and the resilience. Because out of that, it is like the flower that blooms from the seed of discipline.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's difficult. So not that there isn't the glamour. It's just that it's not the forefront.
It's not the
It is the resultant of.
So what I'm hearing is you are more about getting the achievement done, the goal done, and then the glamour is kind of the cherry on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
But from so, Yazi, when I'm in standard 10 or I'm in high school,
Yeah.
all I see is the glamour of what I want to become.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on for this guy to be. For example, let's talk about a DJ Fresh. I've always wanted to be on radio. I understand. There's DJ Fresh on radio right now. All I see is this guy.
Yeah.
This is what I want to become. The girls see you. The guys see you. They see that. So maybe let's start from. You come from a pot where you've been cooked in.
Yeah.
And part of it was the years between where you were in Mondio. And in that pot, what were the ingredients that went into it? And who was the chef? I don't know if I'm putting it right.
No, absolutely. My perspective, I will underline it. Good luck when you watch this, because I probably have very divergent views, and that's how I own who I am.
Yes.
You
do own who you are.
Absolutely. My chef are my spirit guides and God.
Yes.
Those are my chefs.
Okay.
I'm called to this life for a purpose.
Yes.
And I come from a family who guided me through my journey.
Good support structure.
And a support structure. I come from a family of educators.
Mom,
school principals, both.
Both school principals?
Yeah, both.
Different schools?
Yeah.
Yeah, your homework must have been No time to play.
So education was always at the center of my life.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But I'm very privileged in that I come from specialist educators also who were really about guiding the strengths of the child.
Yes.
My dad really even did his research and focused on not special needs but high achieving children. He did his research on high achieving children.
Or high achieving with the A students,
gifted,
students?
let's call it gifted children.
Okay.
Gifted children in that, schooling, there was always those kids who jumped a grade or two.
Yeah. Yeah, promote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's under figure.
Or they had a certain ability, and how do you then? Everybody and every child has their own special gift, and yours as a parent and a teacher is to guide them in their own given gifts, and not in a one size fits all model.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't all come from perfect families.
Yes.
But for everything I can say about my family is that they've always guided me and embraced my special talents and who I am, because I've never shown up as a cookie cutter child.
One thing that you've always said to me is, yeah. So I talk.
Yeah, I talk. My parents indulged me. They're watching football. They're watching Izinda, but they switch on the TV and allow me to have my stage and talk. And when they're done, they switch it on and they carry on.
And you would say that has played a big factor in you being a free spirit.
Not just in being a free spirit, but in asserting myself in the way that I do.
Okay.
Different is not easy. Going against the grain is not easy.
Yeah.
Showing up differently to what the world is used to is not easy. But
yes.
If your foundation allowed you and supported you, even when you go out and you face resistance, you always know that you're enough.
You are enough. I know that. I've seen you in the boardroom. I've seen you in many spaces. Trust me, I know. All right, so now you're done with matric.
Yeah.
You study broadcasting and visual.
Listen to someone who reads. Yeah.
What was the frame of mind at that time? What were you trying to achieve? Were you just wanting to be a broadcaster? Because you then moved from that and you are into a completely different space.
No, I love changing. Let me tell you, before I even started broadcasting, I was going to be a pilot.
Oh, okay.
another story.
Boeing 747.
Yeah, I was happy to. I got into a cadet training with SAA and Denali at the time. We were looking for black female pilots. And then I somehow stumbled at the last...
This is between...
This is matric.
2002?
Yeah, this is matric.
Right.
And I stumbled that I didn't have 20/20 vision and I couldn't see. I was so bad. I really want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
That's what I'd known myself to be. But I also knew that I had a second option, which was always broadcasting and media studies.
And you are quite brilliant in that. I don't know why you are not focusing on that one.
I am a woman of many talents.
We'll try and find you some of that broadcasting work. We'll put it out.
So that was it. I remember my mother and I drove past Rao at the time, which is UJ now, and just really disappointing after having land, in Auckland Park. After there was in Randburg there was the training academy, the testing center.
Yeah.
Where I just failed my eye test and they declined my entrance, And we had lunch with my mother by Cresta, and we drove down, and she's like, "Yazi, okay, I know you're but I submitted my forms."
Yeah.
Then let's take them home, and then because we need to think about plan B, because
piloting
didn't work, right?
Yeah.
So we went and we picked up these forms begrudgingly. I was so upset. I filled it in. They took me on the spot. They accepted me. So I was kind of like dragging my feet that I'm doing this. Like I wasn't. But true to my nature, when I sign up for something, do I finish it?
Yeah.
And I'll do it well.
So now you've signed up for this broadcasting.
Now. Yeah. I've signed it. I've put on the clutch. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I had to change my mind, adjust my mind. But I've always known in the back of my head. I told myself I'm gonna make this work, but at some point in my life I'm gonna go back for my private pilot's license and my helicopter license.
How is that going? Have you dabbled into that? Have you tried that?
Yeah.
Are you winning?
Yeah.
How far have you gone?
2024, I started my at
the Lanzero one.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
This is Kala.
Yeah, we're like.
It's
okay. I can show you how if you need me to.
To fly a plane? I'll probably need you for that, not to balance my mic. I think I got my microphone right here. There's something interesting that happened in your life, and I want you to. I'm gonna put this one in two parts.
Okay.
You say, "I have a keen interest in advocacy and public affairs discipline, layered through African language practices and cultured, nuanced communication practices."
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? What is that? It's serious, Linda. When I saw it, I said, I have to ask you. Is it part of the fixer?
No, it is part of the fixer. And it's part of my media brand in that I believe we don't know how to speak to black people. We don't know how to speak and break down concepts to the general populace of our country. Our people speak in 11 different languages, and yet they've got concepts and funding and things that could benefit them, and yet we don't know how to break down the most simple matters into a way that they understand. Media and communication is about understanding. It's not about putting it out. You can put it out and no one understands it and gets it.
Yeah.
An example I have, I'm very passionate about safety communications, right?
What is safety communication?
So, an example, you are working at Transnet on the tracks.
Yeah.
There's training, and you need to know how the signals work so that you can move off the tracks when the train is coming. You need a certain boot and safety clothing so that you don't get hurt. You're in the sun.
Your full PPE.
Your full PPE.
Yeah.
But those things don't come naturally. No one can just say, "Nazizindo," and you know how to do it.
Yes.
It takes a culture and a communications campaign to teach you put on these gloves like this. When the light is green, you can be in the on the track. When it's red, get off safe. Because those
Similar
things...
to the airport with the...
Yes, those things are between life and death.
Yeah.
I've worked enough in corporate to know that people have died because someone didn't communicate with them in a language, in a way they understood, for them to understand the signals or how to put on their safety kit.
I think it was Umandela who said that, right? Speak to a person in a language that they...
In a way.
Their own language, and you're speaking to them in a way they can understand.
Absolutely. So communication in media, from my perspective, is so nuanced in that it is culture layered and nuanced, right? I remember I used to go on industrial sites because I'm a woman in KZN, people wouldn't listen to me. And I had to, I get to a place where I needed to find a way, so that, because I had to remember that I was there for them to hear. So if there's a blockage to them understanding and hearing the information,
your achievement is not happening,
then I won't get it. I had to then know that nuance, it takes away nothing from Nomathemba, or ask another colleague to convey the message in a way. You see, there's many layers to this communication.
Yeah.
And we come from a country where sometimes, because you wrote a manual and you put a video out and you assume that people now get it and sign, and if they don't get that communication, then there's punishment, you fine them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you took just a bit more time, a little bit more resources and understand it, and you test that understanding, you'd get the success that you want.
How would you say that mind, that chain of thinking during the 3rd of Jan 2016 until the 19th when you were in America, how would you say that worked for you? Because I know being away from home, you then needed to tell your mind that I'm away. I'm here to... What were you there to do first? Because you stayed about a month or two.
Yeah.
And then Banda Wakshaya came back home. How did that play?
I travel a lot.
Yeah.
I've probably traveled to all the continents in the world.
Okay. I've been traveling. Where I used to
I've been traveling since I was 25.
Yeah.
And I'm a
Which was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. And I'm a solo traveler.
Yeah.
And
solo holidays.
Yeah, solo holidays.
You kind of solo everything.
I'm solo me.
Solo runner.
Yeah. I'm solo many things. But
I've seen you in business work alone.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
But I'm a team player also. But I am.
Yes, you are, because at Cerebral Capital, you were with KG or something. Okay.
Oh my God.
You did Liamba Holdings as well.
Oh, Luyimbo, Luyimbo. It was corporate finance. It was really interesting.
That's where the team player mind happened.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you can never put me in a box. I use both sides of my brain. I use both my creative and analytical side.
Okay.
I'm much of a
Not a lot of people can tap into that, though.
I'm much of a financial mind as I am a creative mind.
Financial mind. When you say that, I want to know, because now I can't remember you being an employee.
10 years ago, 10 years, you wouldn't remember.
Yes, but business. What led you to going into business? What led you to the day when you said, payslip done. I'm pushing my business right now. I'm gonna make that happen. What was the passion behind that? And what was the goal that you wanted to get to? And what did it take out of you? So it's threefold.
Okay.
It's a lot.
I never make rash decisions. I'm very cerebral. I think things through quite deeply. I'm a very deep thinker. So when I make a decision, you must know that decision has been cooking for a while.
All right. So going into business
was cooking for a while.
Because you're tired of working for someone else?
I don't make decisions because I'm tired or I'm hot or I'm sad or I'm happy. My decisions are driven, purpose-led. I've always known that I was going to have my own business.
Yes.
I'm not a great employee. Because I'm driven by my purpose.
A lot of people that start their businesses because I
honestly don't think it's a solid foundation to start a business because what did they do?
Yeah, no.
That's not solid.
You're doing it
because that's emotion based. What happens with Jabli Lexus?
Now you miss your job.
Manje. Mase kunzima. Singeki singwa.
And you had days like that. Have you had days like that? So when you got out of corporate with a nice pay slip,
yeah,
and now you're starting this business.
Again, I packed up my lovely home and I moved back home with my dad.
You are now living in your own house.
Yeah.
Life is good. Your own car. Your rules.
No, I'm disciplined.
Disciplined, yes. Yeah. But you know, Mama Busekaya, there is that factor. It's my space. I can do whatever. Yeah. Though you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So now, the business, I've registered it.
Yeah.
Take me through the hard and the good times.
So, maybe I need to take 2 steps back because...
Let's do that.
I'm really interested always in myself, and when I talk to people, it's difficult to separate my own journey to self-mastery towards my journey of being business and moving.
Okay.
And a lot happened. I lost my mother in a car accident.
Yeah, so rest in peace.
I was in that crashed my life. I work. I was liking my job, but I always had this dream of wanting to start a business. I wanted to go to business school, and luckily I went and I spoke to one of the dean at Henley Business School at the time in Bryanston, yes. And I went for an expo and I had a chat with him, and God willing, he gave me a full bursary and scholarship to study.
Yeah.
I started...
Shout out to the dean. Shout out to the dean at Henley. You are a good man.
That was already in the process of me thinking about being a businesswoman.
So obviously this is now the first step.
I was employed, but I needed the tools.
Yes.
I went to business school to gain my tools so that by the time I left employment, I had the tools to start. Yeah. And it helped me to craft what I wanted to do, my business modeling, my financial modeling. I didn't just leave work because I didn't have that. I needed to save at least 6 months.
Okay.
Money in the kitty.
Okay. So there was a strategy in place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is how I am in everything. I look at my goal and I break it down and I say, what tools do I need? What modeling do I need? What support do I need? Does the first step look like? I don't need to know the whole picture, but what does the first step look like? Is there a plan B? If this doesn't go right, what's my fallback?
Would you say that in you doing that, you're looking at it from the end and working out your steps to get to the end?
In business and sometimes in your plans, there is not a set determined end.
Yeah.
But there is a first milestone.
Sure.
So I'm very milestone based because I didn't know how the end's going to look like, but I know this is what I want and this is how I would like it to look like, and this is how I know the first milestone looks like. So I'll work back from my first milestone. I need to decouple any debt that I have, the house, car,
what did you
back
do
home.
Moving back home, did you hey, bank, come, repossess, take your things?
No, I was renting. I gave notice. My car was paid off. I had paid off my car. Okay. I decided not to buy a new car. Yeah. I drove the same car for the 10 years because I didn't want the financial burden of having. I knew that I had to decouple and make sure that I have minimal debt.
Dealerships will greet you when you drive past.
Yeah, I didn't. I needed my operating costs to be as minimum as possible.
Yeah.
But I also gave myself grace to say. In fact, when I moved back home, the first 3 months I didn't do anything. I just went to gym and chilled and read.
With the mindset of, I'm starting my business, but...
I needed my mind to be right.
Clear your mind.
Yeah. I'd gone through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
I paid for a therapist. I was seeing my therapist. And
I'm seeing a therapist.
I'm seeing a therapist. to clean up the junk. I've always believed if emotionally and spiritually, if you're not grounded in a good place, I couldn't see how success was going to look like when I hadn't cleaned out home within myself.
Healing process.
Yeah.
Everybody knows talking healing process, but do they really? What is the healing process? Because you're saying you needed to introspect and you needed to know where you want to be and in the right way. Is that healing, or is because for me, I just think no, that's just me getting to the next point.
Yes.
I need to get to the next thing right now.
Healing never ends and introspection never ends. However, you need a toolkit to know how to do it. That's where you get a professional or somebody else, your pastor or whatever. Healing is about putting a mirror to your face and saying, Sfiso.
Yes.
Sfiso does these things. Sfiso has experienced a couple of childhood traumas. You need to look at your childhood, your parents, how you were raised, and say, I liked this, I don't like this, so that when I grow up, I can heal this part of my lineage, of my DNA, of what my family did wrong, so that the next part of my life for my children and myself shows up better than the version I was raised or my parents are.
More like breaking generational curses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've got to be intentional about it. So you've got to say, I have these little triggers. Maybe Nomathemba.
Yeah.
Where does this temper or reaction come from? Maybe I come from an abusive home. I come from this environment that triggers me when these things happen.
Yes.
If I have those kind of triggers, how am I going to be in the boardroom?
This is true. How are you gonna deal
How am I going to show up?
reputational analysis?
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? That personal introspection is so critical in that it allows you to show up in your best light when you then choose to move forward. Because your childhood traumas and the things that you are that shaped you are the things that shape a decision-making process of an adult.
This is true.
We walking around in this world with 16-year-old with 6-year-old boy tempers. And that is not a coincidence that the fact that it takes someone being very brave and putting a mirror to themselves and say, I am the way I am because this environment shaped me.
Yeah.
But I now forgive myself and everybody in that environment. I now know better and I choose to show up better as an adult.
Which gives you a better next step.
Therefore, when I step as a 40-year-old woman, I step in my power.
Here we go.
Not because I am controlled by a 6-year-old version of myself, but a 40-year-old version who is empowered and has chosen the version of herself that she shows up with. And that's the version that God called her to.
There we go. Wisdom. You heard that? Wisdom. Yeah.
And that is the foundation of everything else as a businesswoman. Being driving your life forward and not being a victim of anything.
Of circumstance.
Of circumstances. So that's why I say that it's difficult for me to speak about my life without talking about how you mirror yourself and heal yourself, because that pattern and that method is what you then put that pattern in your life, in your body, in your spirit, in your business. It's that same ruler that you then just implement across your life.
And that is the same methodology and the same service, maybe, if I may, that you offer in business as well. So you're not just preaching this thing, but you're actually helping other businesses do
I
it.
walk it in a... You see, when you're called as a healer,
Yeah.
it's not... It's the method that's different.
Yeah.
You heal and teach in business.
As well as you do in
As you do. You coach your clients through a crisis.
Yeah.
When people are crashing and a corporate truck has crashed or killed an employee and they're on the front page of a newspaper, the outcomes of and tactics of how you implement that crisis plan is determined by the quality of decision making that you're doing. At that moment, the tactics are standard, but the ability to coach your client through making quality decisions in crisis makes you.
No, it wasn't CIP before.
Maybe CPRO.
CPRO, something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
CPRO. So, Baba, now can I have 75 rand? With 75 rand, just to come back.
No, I
what
had,
led to
I had the funds. I was
get the money from and did savings. And,
I had savings. I had
so
planned
now
this.
let's start here now. The business to today, to what we see today. So take me through that process.
Very
It's a car.
different.
From employment,
Yeah.
sold everything, left with a car that is paid off.
Yeah.
You are going through this healing process, which is a work in progress. But in that, life must carry on.
Absolutely.
Right? Next week. You have to start this business. You have to start working on your passion. What drives you to start, and how do you start? What are the tools that you had to apply, and information where did you get from? To move from step one now.
Yeah, so the advantage I had is I already worked in a consultancy. And I had the business modeling and the pricing structure, and for me, and the skill. And I had the relationships.
Yes.
So I'm very good in relationships and building that kind of network of really trusted people. I didn't have it all, I didn't know it all, but I was quite self-aware on what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and where I can collaborate and partner. I got my first client. Relationships. It's relationships.
And this is first client in what business? What are you doing?
So I am doing communications. Straight up PR communications.
Okay.
Straight up. Nothing diversified, nothing too crazy, straight up PR, right? At this point, I start basic.
Yeah.
One
client.
Yeah, one client, I do the work, and then I collaborate where I need to collaborate, and it moves, and I start getting a bit of income.
Yes.
I then learn, and I was reading a lot of business structures and how people internationally are doing a very Uber type of model of selling their time.
Okay.
People are working 2-3 jobs, but in a more consulting way, mindset of saying, "Ngomniga 1 day here, 2 days here," and I was able to then sell my time to another agency, and
same service.
Because at this time you also have people who will like, "Come work for me," and I'm like, I don't want a job.
Yeah. Is that your fault?
Yeah, it's mine.
No,
No, I don't want to answer.
Are you sure? Business was going on?
No. They can wait. They can wait, and it looks red, so I'm sure he'll have another inside.
Sorry, spam calls.
Yeah, my spam calls. So at this point, I then decided, for income's sake, because imali yadingeka, at this point I really need money. I'm gonna sell 2 to 3 days in the week to another agency, and the 2 days I keep to myself and my business and my client.
Yes.
So I started being very diversified in how I thought about making money.
That's a very smart way of thinking, man. People just think, I need a job now.
Yeah. Ukuthi mase kunzima, sengiyaphindela emsebenzini. It was not like at that moment being nzima. It was very nzima, right? But I thought
you've had to dial down on the life that you lived.
I had to dial down on my life. I needed the income, but instead of giving up 100% and saying I'm leaving and abandoning what I've started, but I said that 50% of my capacity I can sell to another agency as a consultant. 50% can still stay with me.
Yeah.
To do my things.
Okay. So you've got time for this.
So that is guaranteed cash flow, 50% that covers all my basics. Yes. I don't need an extravagant life, but this 50% covers my basic. 50% is future, and this 50% is present.
There we go.
You've got to really think deeply. When I say I'm a very analytical person, this is what I mean.
I don't think there's a lot of people that have thought of it that way. I can, with the skills that I have, I can actually go sell time. 2.5 days to client A, 2.5 days to client A, or keep that to myself and start a business.
Yeah.
Now I want to start a business tomorrow because I'm going to make this work, and then 3 months down the line I can't feed myself.
No, ask them. Can I work half day?
Yeah.
So that I'll give you my morning to work and you'll take a salary cut.
Of course,
okay.
they'll pay you as such.
But you then work a half day or 2-3 days, the rest you still keep to yourself to start your business.
Yeah.
You've got to really think deeply, and it's about negotiation skills.
Yeah.
Because we're
talking to a salesperson. My shy.
we also got to think, part of childhood trauma, I always say as black people, is that all black people have childhood trauma, but because of our past and how we think, we always think either or. Everything is black and white.
Yeah.
Nyasaba umbuza because the answer is going to be no.
Yeah.
But if you go and negotiate and give a solution, the discussion will be better.
Yeah.
The posture also, you go for a negotiation, is different.
Of course.
You read someone's body language.
Yeah.
I know my boss. Uthanda itiye, akathanda itiye, udla ngales card. Angithi uyabona, uyathengisa.
Yeah. Now you're netie nama biscuit. Don't just come to
mamela.
Yeah.
Azwane la. And umsebenzi wethu, in Europe they call it job sharing now.
Okay.
Where you can have the same position for 2 people.
Okay. So I could be a CEO here and CEO here, but 50% here, 50%
usually job sharing is for people who want to be 50% mothers or stay-home fathers and still work. But I share my position. I don't want the pressures of a full-time job. I'll cut my salary in half. I can still keep my household, but I'm 50%. I'm still with my children. I do it. But I share my job with someone else who we do exactly the same thing, but they come Wednesday to Friday, and I'm Monday to Wednesday, or I'm morning, day, afternoon. But we work together to make sure everything works seamlessly. Those are the kind of thinking that is happening right now.
Yes.
And I worked for an international firm. I must give it to them that allowed me to think out the box.
What firm was that?
It was Flashman Hiller.
Okay.
And I worked on several...
they are in Bryanston.
Yeah, in Bryanston. And
they used to be my client.
Yeah. And they allowed me to work in different offices around the world.
Yeah.
So I could work with the UK team, I could work with the German team, I could work with the US team. And that allowed me to think how international benchmarks and how international counterparts are thinking about life and consulting.
Yes.
Consulting has always been about selling time. My commodity is time. I sell my brain, I sell a non-tangible asset. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm selling time.
Yes.
So if I've got 7 hours in a day, right?
Yeah.
How is each hour accounted for? How is it billable? How is it showing results?
Yeah, whatever I achieved in this hour.
This is why when you come from a consulting environment, you do timesheets where you account for the hours of the day.
Hey, don't remind me of those. Haven't filled it in a minute.
But it creates a discipline. Discipline is that word in you again.
Yeah, maybe.
It creates a discipline of being accountable for productivity.
So, okay. Now the PR company has started. I want to bring you back because I feel like I'm losing you now. The PR company has started. You said you had 2 clients.
Yeah.
At 50% capacity
of the time, and I'm working for another agency.
And you're working for another agency. Let's go there. Let's take that path now. How did you move from there to growing your business and saying, "Right, client or employee of half day, peace"?
It took. Sorry, that word again. Discipline in saying that.
I think that word is very important because it's one thing that we lack as a people, but we want to achieve things, we want to see our goals, realize them, but we don't have the discipline for it. As soon as you have to apply, yesterday I posted a status and I said, everybody keeps it 100 until they have to do so in deed.
looks nice ngaphandle.
Yeah.
Ne? But the reality of the everyday walk,
The steps, the nitty-gritties.
everyday walk is what matters.
Yeah.
The everyday routine, everyday walk is what matters.
So you did this for how long?
I did it,
Working 50-50.
let's say a good solid 4 years.
Okay.
But in that, I'm growing relationships. I'm getting to know other people. I'm
more
refining
business space.
my services.
Yes.
I'm refining my partnerships.
Yes.
And the people that I can work with, where I can finally let go of the 50% employment and
This can now sustain you.
and sustain me and onboard another client where I can look at Zindela 100%.
Which is this? Where are we talking? Is this pre-states or after states? I would imagine after. No?
Maybe it was pre because I don't think I would have had money to travel before. I can't imagine.
Yeah, 50% doesn't pay you that much.
And also, you've got to realize that I didn't take leave from my business for the first 5 years. I didn't take leave. I didn't have sick leave. I
It's
didn't
just
have
been
backup.
pumping
You know, kulela
work
endleleni.
all the time.
You know, Papa used to say, "Unihamba nemkhuhlane yenu."
Yeah.
Unihamba nemkhuhlane wami. You know, there's no. That's what I mean by discipline. You are yourself. Me, myself, and I are with my partners and people I'm collaborating with, working to deliver. Because how you get repeat business is referrals.
Yeah.
And people
Because they trust you.
knowing you
Yeah.
that you had a little bit and then they trust you with more. And that's what happens also with corporate. One thing I must say in my business, I always told myself was, I am going to focus on corporate business. A lot of people in my space or our black entrepreneurs focus on government business.
Yeah.
Not that there's nothing
I
wrong.
would just 10 million fast. Oh, come on, man.
But
I'm rich now.
yes, you might get one and get it fucked, but sustainability for me was important. Because I was never doing this business for a short-term money. It was for me, and it's a legacy project.
Yeah.
It's a long-term. I'm running a marathon here. It's not a one-term, nice money.
And I mean, I agree because your kind of business is where, I mean, when you talk about reputation, is not something that you fix now.
No.
As you look, see the little reputation, we're good here, these guys look good in the media, or whatever landscape that they're being spoken about. But it's you are an extension.
Yes.
They have a communications department, they have a PR department, but you come in
As an
extend
advisor.
that, right?
As an extend.
And it's not an ad hoc job, man. It's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We go, we grow, we start from here. We create a community. We make sure, strategize, all of that.
Strategy.
Yeah.
You listen. You adjust. And also, we had to go through a lot of education. A lot of people still call what we do PR. People are used to press releases, PR. Oh, and the PR, you know,
Yeah.
and it's changing now.
They think it's just make noise about what I'm doing. Basically.
Personally, so
Yeah.
and
Put me in the paper, put me in the magazine.
the advisory part didn't come strong enough. Things are changing now, but when I started my business to now, we've had to educate a lot of our clients and take them on the journey of having what we do as a business enabler, and for them to understand that it's a strategic function.
Are you able to mention some of those clients?
No, unfortunately not. With some I do, it's quite a lot of confidentiality. And then,
also because it's how they look outside. So you kind of don't want to say, I fixed them, they were broken. You're kind of a psychologist for
no one
competence.
is really broken. Maybe that's also a very strong word. No one is really broken. I like using very kind words because even as humans, we're not broken.
But we throw that around, don't we?
Perhaps it's an adjustment we need to think about.
And now she's reputation managing me. I feel like the client right now. No, listen. Because this is how you need to sound, okay?
No, the choice. words matter.
It does.
Words matter. You know, words have an energy.
Yes.
Words have an energy, and as a healer, like
And a fixer. As a healer and a fixer.
I think I like calling myself a healer more than anything. The rest comes from that.
Yeah, well, I think I admire what you do, man. And I've had the luck of spending some good years with you, and I've seen what you do. I always start something. You know, I'm the starter.
Yeah. When I start,
I've started a whole lot of businesses, and I'm like, hey, Matem,
Yeah.
now, sis, this is what we started now. Now, sis, kanalo. But I think it comes from watching people like you.
really?
Doing what you guys do, of course. I've said
Oh,
this
you always say this, and I'm like, I'm not.
It's always said, and the reason why I wanted you to come here is because I want you to give Leon in certain ways to other people that are still trying to
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I understand.
and perhaps if I leave people with anything they want to hear, is less about the physical manifestation of my journey,
Yes.
but rather the lessons of how it got there and what it took to get there.
Yeah.
Because uzokhoshwa okuningi.
Because of like glamour pain.
Uzokhoshwa okuningi, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. In that journey,
Yeah.
part of the journey is you being blindsided by things that come.
Yeah, uzokhoshwa okuningi. And if you're just looking at Nomathemba, I think I am very uncomfortable with being looked at.
Which is why I had to convince you 7 million times to come to this podcast.
I am very uncomfortable with it.
She was like, are we going to practice before? Can we have 30 minutes?
I'm so uncomfortable with it because there's blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And those are the stories that are never told. It's literally blood, sweat, and tears. But I respect every bit of those tears and the hardships.
Yeah.
But I have an ability to alchemize pain
Yeah.
and hardships into success.
Okay. Very good. That's a beautiful thing.
And that is a gift.
Yeah.
I can't own that part. That is a gift.
Are you able to share that? Are you trying to? Is it something that you?
We spoke about me thinking about a podcast and starting to write a book.
Yes, earlier.
That's my next project.
Okay.
Beyond the pilot's license.
Nice.
It's a book.
We maybe we should start a network. We should start a podcast network, and then that network. See, nine. What are we gonna call it? The Zindela podcast.
No, it's called Nomathemba Magic.
Nomathemba Magic.
That's my personal brand.
Yo, yes, nyakufaka into it, guys. Nomathemba Magic. She's just said, she's put it out into the universe. We have documented it today. She is starting a podcast called Nomathemba Magic.
It's beyond a podcast, it's my teaching platform.
It's a teaching platform.
It's my healing and teaching platform. It'll show up in books, it'll show up in podcasts, it'll show up in conferences, it'll show up globally.
I look forward to that, man. You've got a lot to be picked on in your mind.
Yeah.
There's a day when you said. So every time I always even say this to my kids, but today could be the day that you've been praying for. So let's go, kids. Let's go make it happen. What was that day? When was the day when you said, God has heard me, has answered this prayer? When was that day for you when you got out to not knowing, or maybe you knew, expected something to happen, and it actually happened? And when you talk about those pains, those tears, the struggle that you had to go through, you got out of corporate, you know, you took that, you went through healing. All of the time you are praying for something. Tell me that time. When was the time and what was it that you say, and he's heard my cries? and this is him answering it. And that's where you got the assurance, which I'm making Nomathemba Malinga happen right now, and it's happening.
Yeah. It was a pitch. It was a pitching process, and it was a little bit later on in the system. I'm not gonna say the name of the client, but I was pitching against big international brands,
Yes.
agencies. But I am a woman of faith, and that I can never run away from. So things for me, I finish in summer before we get anywhere. And God,
And God,
you know, but it's that audacity to be great, man. It's that audacity with you guys may be international, big global agencies,
But they don't know Nomathemba.
But you don't know me.
Of course, yes. Hey now, come on.
Okay, and I won the pitch.
Yes.
And at that moment, you know, sometimes some things you sit, you
Was this
know
a car?
you
Are
have
you still at
faith.
home?
No, I've moved out at this point.
So things are now looking up.
No, they're okay. I'm renting.
Yeah.
I moved back to the north, but I'm renting. But
Yeah,
alright. But I will call you know.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short you see, but short you cheese, but no petrol.
Yabo? Yes, they will speak
Yeah.
right, but I will call.
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah, you know, but you're good, but you're grateful for where you are.
Pleasantly, we're busy thinking about this pitch for days, putting it together,
and I
doing the
think
research.
about things. And then
You see the list of these agencies.
I put a team together. I speak to a few people. I've got a team together. At this point, I've hired one person full time, a junior staff. I go and speak to them, and I said, this pitch, we can get offices, we can do it together. We win the client. Now we're getting offices, and I remember walking into my offices and thinking, hey, Bo, I'm no longer working from my kitchen counter.
Okay.
I now have staff sitting in an office.
Hey, now.
Thiwa Zindela Communications aloma kuphendula.
Go ahead. Go ahead now. Go ahead now. How about that?
Oh, yeah, what's it? Hey, Bo, this thing started by a mere thought.
Yes.
I now have office in Nabantu office.
At that time,
This
does
office.
all of the experiences and the memories of what
They
you've
all
gone
come.
through?
They all come.
Because I know,
Yeah.
growing up, uma ngihlala thi uzoyithola kanjani hlele khoneni ngithi amazi umandoza afika umandoza azothola uzoyithola kanjani hlele khoneni. What was this one uma ngithanda ukulicula yazi kulithi, but along those lines ukuthi uzoyithola kanjani ohleze khoneni. So mongena endlini and hip hop. So I found hip hop.
Okay.
This song comes through 5 o'clock in the morning. Where you gonna be?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Right?
Got it.
90s, the band outside in the corner. You better get yourself together. Hey, get your act together. Hey, yeah, he's what I'm going. And in kona lapo, I'm waking up your ploma na machinza kone. Ole mo buya, ukucule lo mandos.
Yo.
So at that time, mina bengazi ukuthi okay, ake ngize ngithole. And to a point ukuthi it's not nice to say this because some of abajita basasekhoneni.
Yeah. Absolutely. And bebehlakaniphe ukudlula wena.
Lalela mina bengidoba mina.
Ngitshela ukuthi behlakaniphe ukudlula wena. Yini lesson that you learned from there? Ngitshela perseverance and discipline trumps talent any day.
Yeah.
Any day. Ungazala udlala ibhola ubashikishe but ungakwazi uvuka ejimini.
Nah.
And things. Any day. Discipline and resilience without trump natural ability.
Yeah.
Not that natural ability is not important.
It's very important.
Very important.
But you still have to cultivate this thing.
I mean, wake up and not be the best at what I do. I don't have a natural ability, yay, number and things, but I will sit and understand these concepts. Ngihlale ngivuke ngithatha ama calculator until I understand it. When you understood it in 10 minutes, but you didn't have the discipline to carry on. I'm gonna catch up with you.
Yeah.
Mina ngiyaphusha.
And I know ahead because when I'm
Ngiyaphush, ngiyogcina ngidlulile. Uyabona? Bese usubuya emuva. Bese bethi Nomathemba business. Wazini?
Yeah.
How did she get there? No, I've always been there. I was watching you from the front. Now I'm watching you from behind.
Ish. Oh man, I'm feeling that. Kind of makes me want to go work double time. Lezo zingibheki, nini ningibheki. Hlaya ngiyasebenza. So that ngazongithola.
There's also a lesson to be learned about this balance. Because, hey, your business can be your prison. Also.
Elaborate on that. Break that down for me.
No,
Because we see, the time I let you see over the BM.
That's what they say. People who have money don't enjoy the money.
What do you mean? My business? This
It's
thing
your
that
prison.
I've created
It's your
that
prison.
feeds me?
It's your prison.
Kanja.
Until you master balance.
Between business and life?
Yeah. Because, it's like your child. For 10 years, this is all you did. You had the discipline. You got the accounts. You got the clients. You've got the staff, you're managing them, yonkin. At some point, you need to divorce yourself from your business.
Okay, so this is now you are saying you stopped working in your business.
And work
now you work on your
on
business.
your business and yourself.
And yourself.
Because your health, your body, your mind is what's going to drive it. So if you don't divorce yourself, work on your health.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, spiritually, you will not have the sustenance and the power to carry on.
That's big.
This
Big word.
is when you see me pause and go overseas to recharge.
And you spend how long?
Come on.
2 months?
But
You went everywhere, right?
but the aesthetics of it is, she's having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the truth of it, I'm going to refill my cup so I can come back stronger.
Nakok.
That's what I'm saying. It's dangerous to see things for just the front.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the reasoning. When someone pulls back, they are going to refill so they can come back stronger.
And this is your journey of how you make it happen.
Exactly. You're moving out so you can change a gear
Yeah.
and come back.
There we go.
But when I'm all over Instagram, woo, glamour.
No, and then you disappear for a month. Bishile bengazi.
Right?
Bengazi.
And then you don't see that she's going to rethink about the next phase of her life.
Which is going to take you to another level, elevate you to higher heights.
That's why it's dangerous to ubheka abantu and looking at Nomathemba's journey without the context.
Tell them. How?
Don't admire people.
Yeah.
Don't make anybody demigods. Yikho nje onandipha benza ama-women's events bathi, hey, be this and you can be successful. I gotta be sorry. I'm really not into those panels. Do this, you can also make it.
Yeah.
Women empowerment.
Yeah.
And I give you such a shallow story. And you don't know the truth.
Yeah.
And you look at one person because they present a certain way.
Yeah.
And then you follow that. And then now everybody's hearts are broken that Dr. Nandipa can be this kind of character. She looked so great.
Yeah. From the outside.
Ow.
On Instagram. The picture's saved.
But what's the lesson? I'm always about lessons. Sifundise ngani ukuthi no one is straight. Everybody is good, bad.
Yeah.
Light, dark.
Yeah.
Life is gray. Life is nuanced. So don't follow a person. You can take things from space or take things from Zoto.
Use what works.
You can take things and find a medium that blends into your own authentic way of how you want to drive your business.
Yes, the same way that you did not just jump into Nguyele Msebenzini, but thought, I'll give them
Yes.
Half of my time, half of my time. So nuanced ways of doing things, right?
That's the lesson for me. That's the lesson is ungabheki umuntu oyedwa. No one is God. Even ngisho no Nelson Mandela. Naye ningamthathi nje as ask him, how was he as a father? How was he as a business person? How was he as a politician? We all show up differently on different settings. But that will take your own self-mastery to know yourself and say, this is what I'm going to take from this person because this authentically matches my inner. If one doesn't fit, can leave it for somebody else.
Yes.
And this is what I take.
And I'm going to use it.
And I'm going to use it. My say hlangene, it becomes a cocktail of beautiful.
Lale. Mavela na warn you. Just thirsty. It's this cocktail. It's the beautiful, it's the amazing Nomathemba Malinga.
Yeah.
The company name is Zindela Communications. You want to tell them your handles?
Find me on LinkedIn, Nomathemba Malinga, or zindela.co.za. That's where we're at, but watch the space. Nomathemba Magic is coming up soon.
That's next, right? In the short term.
Short term.
And in the long term?
It's that. It's my teaching. You know, I really feel like I'm at the stage of my life where I have to answer my calling for being a teacher and a healer.
Yeah.
But I will find different channels to do it.
Yes.
And develop through it. I think God won't let me sleep if I don't grow that part of me.
Okay. So you are obliged. Obligation here.
To grow it, but watch the space. I'm going to do it the Nomathemba way.
Nomathemba way.
Yeah.
With the Nomathemba magic, the dust.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Double.
You and I, we should do something together, and I think maybe the podcast would be it.
Oh,
because we've been trying to put together something for a minute.
Yeah.
So maybe the podcast, and make
it
it happen.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to Make It Happen with Kiss. Kisses, man. Kisses. Salute.